I think Trump's got more problems on sexual issues than you can possibly imagine.
Okay, a letter from Trump to Princess Diana. It's between the two of them.
I would say yes.
Hi, I'm Jamie Crawford, and we need to talk about the president, the pedophile, and the princess. So, let's get into it.
Are you still talking about Jeffrey Epstein? This guy's been talked about for years. Are people still talking about this guy, this creep?
In late 2024, on his podcast Fire and Fury, journalist Michael Wolff claimed to have about 100 hours of audio tapes of Jeffrey Epstein talking about his relationship with Donald Trump. On this podcast, he showcased an admittedly small fraction of this 100 hours, including a clip of Epstein saying that him and Trump were best friends for a decade.
But the interesting thing here is I ask Epstein how he knows all this stuff, and he kind of responds with some incredulity and says, well, I was Trump's closest friend for 10 years. And I think that's the point here.
So how do you know this?
That was closest friend, 10 years.
Without going into too much detail, and without showcasing the actual audio clip, Wolff describes Epstein making the following claim about Princess Diana.
And they were very competitive about the women. So Stacey Williams recalling that there was a competition, I think is probably exactly accurate. I mean, there was one point in which they had a competition about who would be the first one who would sleep with Princess Diana. Now, I don't think that ever happened. But
I don't believe so.
And there was a thing. Epstein there was a period in which he was brought in to be a Princess Diana walker.
Wow.
And in other words, when he would be seated next to her, when the seat became empty, I mean, these guys were playing at the highest stakes they could play. I mean, there was constant kind of betting about who could get what girl first.
This caught my attention because one of my past stories that I'm most passionate about is actually about Princess Diana. I was the first person to bring real attention to a strange letter that she wrote to the infamous predator Jimmy Savile when it got its first online footprint in 2023 after being auctioned off. I'll link that story below, but I digress. So, apparently Trump and Epstein had a bet about who could sleep with Princess Diana first. So I went into the archives to see what else I could find about any potential history between these three individuals. And I've put together a pretty interesting timeline. So it turns out that Trump's attraction to Diana over the years is pretty well documented. He lusted after her on Howard Stern's show on at least 3 separate occasions. Once in 1993, he talked about how hot she was and that he would love to date her. Then months after her death in 1997, he talked about how he thinks he could have had sex with her, but only if she passed an HIV test first. Always the class act, Donald. And then expressed the same sentiment again in 2000. In Trump's 1997 book, The Art of the Comeback, he wrote, "I only have one regret in the woman department, that I never had the opportunity to court Lady Diana Spencer. She was a genuine princess, a dream lady." In 2015, her friend Selena Scott told the Sunday Times about Trump's relentless pursuit of Diana.
She also wrote an article for the London Sunday Times. As the roses and orchids piled up at her apartment, she became increasingly concerned about what she should do. It had begun to feel as if Trump was stalking her. She even quoted Diana as saying, "He gives me the creeps."
So now that we've established that history, and keeping in mind this alleged competition between Trump and Epstein regarding Diana, check out this January 2016 clip of now deceased journalist Bob Beckel on CNN.
A week ago here, Mr. Beckel, you had this to say to my audience. Let's watch.
I would love to have the Clinton campaign. They won't do it, but there's stuff on Trump that is almost worse. I wish they'd push it out. They don't want to do it because of propriety. If it were up to me, and I might do it anyway, I think Trump's got more problems on sexual issues than you can possibly imagine.
Sounds like you know something, Beckel. I want to show.
I do.
I want to. Do you care to share it here?
No.
Okay.
And if I share it anywhere, I'll share it here, Mike, but not now.
Give me something. What do you have on the Donald on this issue?
Look, first of all, your show last week must be watched by a lot of reporters because I got more phone calls, one of whom is now staking me out down in your lobby here. I believe, and the story's been written, that Donald Trump was fascinated with Princess Diana and wanted to date her, as did a lot of rich men around the world. Nothing wrong with that, except that there is some information that's potentially damaging. That's all I'm going to say about it.
That's linked to Diana, or at least his interest in Diana.
I'm flying to London on Wednesday, and on Thursday I may know more, but the people who have what they have are very protective of Diana's legacy, and my point to them was, this is big-time politics in America, and a letter to somebody who's been dead for a long time that could potentially alter the landscape here is something you should think about.
Okay, a letter from Trump to Princess Diana?
That's, Michael, I told you I'll say it on this show, but I'm not going to say that now.
But it certainly, this is more than we knew a week ago. It's between the two of them.
I would say yes, yeah, it probably is, that's right.
Okay.
So Beckel references Trump's well-documented pursuits of Diana and makes clear that there's nothing inherently wrong with that on its own. But there is apparently something else about this letter that Beckel thought would be incredibly damaging and had the potential to alter the landscape of the 2016 election. Beckel describes whoever is in possession of this letter, presumably Diana's family, as very protective over her legacy. And in the end, they decided to never release this letter because the story never went anywhere from here and Beckel never spoke of it again. Just a few months later, in May 2016, Piers Morgan asked Trump about Diana, and Trump just blatantly denied any infatuation or pursuit of the princess.
Final question. There was a flurry of stories recently that you had a little frisson for Princess Diana.
Totally false. Oh.
Not true?
It was so false.
That's so disappointing.
No, I
was rather hoping it was true.
No, I liked her. I met her in New York once, standing on line, and we were all shaking hands, and that was the only time I ever met her. I read that story that I was calling her or something. It was so false. I could tell you so many stories that are so false that, now I did respect her, but no interest from that standpoint. But I did meet her once, and I thought she was lovely.
After being so open about it for years, he was now just blatantly denying this well-documented reality. To make matters more interesting, and to make Trump's narrative even more inconsistent, in 2023, he released the book Letters to Trump, which document letters that he's received over the years from various prominent individuals. The underlying purpose of the book is to showcase how all these people used to love and accept him before so many turned on him in his presidential era, and he includes a letter from Princess Diana in this book. I wasn't going to pay $100 for a copy, so I went down to my local bookstore and I took a picture of the letter. July 3rd, 1997. Dear Donald, I wanted to write personally to thank you so very much for the beautiful flowers you sent for my birthday. They truly are quite magnificent, and I am deeply touched that you have thought of me in this special way. With my very kindest regards and warmest good wishes, yours sincerely, Diana.
You had a little frisson for Princess Diana.
Totally false. Oh.
Not true?
It was so false.
So this letter corroborates what Selena Scott said about Trump sending Diana flowers, and it completely contradicts what Trump said to Piers Morgan. So to summarize, Trump was very vocal about his desires for Diana throughout the 90s and early 2000s. In 2015, her friend reported that he once bombarded her with flowers. Then in 2016, Bob Beckel alluded to this letter from Trump to Diana that was apparently so damning it could have swayed the election, and seemingly Diana's family or other loved ones refused to make it public. Then just months later, Trump is blatantly lying and backtracking everything he's ever said about her. Then years later, in 2023, when the news cycle has completely moved on, and this supposedly damning letter clearly is not coming out, then Trump includes this letter of his own, in his own possession, from her to him, that corroborates the story that he was indeed pursuing her, despite him backtracking and lying about that to Piers Morgan. And he's including this in just some petty book project of his. So what was in this damning letter from Trump to Diana that apparently could have swayed the election and had something to do with his sexual issues?
I think Trump's got more problems on sexual issues than you can possibly imagine.
So is it possible that in his letter to Diana, he brings up this strange bet that he had with Epstein? I mean, I can imagine this scumbag bringing it up as if it's a flattering detail to share with her. It would indeed be damning, and it would also make sense that those in possession of this letter who are concerned about Diana's legacy just wouldn't want to tie her name to Jeffrey Epstein of all people. It's also worth noting that Diana's brother, Charles Spencer, Viscount Althorpe, was found in Epstein's little black book, under the name Charlie Althorpe. The aristocrat doesn't typically go by the nickname of Charlie, so that implies a certain level of friendliness. His relationship with Epstein and his appearance in his little black book isn't very high profile. I wasn't aware of it until researching this story, and I'm pretty well versed in all things Epstein and all things Princess Diana. So keeping his relationship with Epstein low profile could be another reason to keep that letter under wraps, if Epstein is indeed mentioned in it. Bob Beckel is deceased and can no longer speak to this story. So I implore those in possession of this letter, presumably Diana's family, to release it to the public, especially now during this historic news cycle we're living through. Thanks for watching, and if you want to increase the likelihood of that letter seeing the light of day, then please like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. And please check out my story regarding the letter from Princess Diana to Jimmy Savile. It is dated October 1995, and this is the same month she met with her lawyer, Lord Mishcon, and told him that efforts would be made, if not to get rid of her, then at least to see that she was so injured or damaged as to be declared unbalanced. In the cryptic letter to Jimmy Savile the same month, she makes two seemingly offhand jokes about how she is neither dead nor brain damaged. And according to my reporting, this letter was sent just days after Diana's brakes had failed, and she thought it was due to tampering. And there is a lot more to this story too, so I hope you check it out. And keep an eye out for Ripple Out Media's upcoming series, The Big Club. We'll have to continue teasing it out for now, but trust me, the revelations will be worth the wait. Thanks again.